Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. Have you ever looked around at the world and just felt like something is fundamentally broken? You see injustice, corruption, the powerful getting richer while the vulnerable suffer, and you just want someone to stand up and shout, "This isn't right." Well, that feeling, that deep-seated desire for justice, is nothing new. In fact, it's a story as old as time, and one of its most powerful examples comes from the ancient prophet, Elijah. Now, when we think of prophets, we might picture old men in robes, making cryptic predictions about the future. But that's only a tiny part of the picture. In ancient Israel, prophets were so much more than fortune tellers. They were the conscience of the nation. They were the ones who had the courage to speak truth to power, to challenge kings, and to hold society accountable for its failings. Their primary job wasn't to predict the future, but to call people back to the right path in the present. They were the original social reformers, the divine whistleblowers, and Elijah, he was one of the boldest. His story unfolds during a time of deep moral and spiritual crisis in the kingdom of Israel. The king, Ahab, and his queen, Jezebel, had led the nation astray. They promoted the worship of the idol Baal and, with it, a culture of greed, exploitation, and blatant disregard for the poor. It was a society where the gap between the rich and the poor was widening, and justice was for sale to the highest bidder. Sound familiar? This is where Elijah steps onto the scene. He wasn't a politician or a military leader. He was an outsider, a voice from the wilderness. His first major act was to declare a drought upon the land. Now, this wasn't just a random act of divine power. In that agricultural society, rain was life. It was a symbol of blessing and prosperity, often attributed to the god Baal. By declaring a drought in God's name, Elijah was making a powerful statement. He was challenging the entire corrupt system, from its political leadership to its religious foundations. He was essentially saying, "You think your pursuit of wealth and power at the expense of justice will bring you prosperity? You are wrong. A society that abandons righteousness will ultimately dry up and wither." The most dramatic illustration of this comes from the story of Naboth's vineyard. Naboth was a common man who owned a vineyard next to the king's palace. King Ahab wanted it and offered to buy it, but Naboth refused, citing that it was his ancestral inheritance, a sacred trust. In a just society, that would be the end of it. But Queen Jezebel wouldn't take no for an answer. She conspired, fabricated false charges against Naboth, had him publicly executed, and seized his land for the king. It's a chilling story of the abuse of power. Who dared to confront the king over this horrific injustice? Elijah. He marched right up to Ahab, in the very vineyard stolen through murder, and pronounced judgment. He wasn't afraid. He spoke for the voiceless Naboth. He held the most powerful man in the kingdom accountable for his actions. This is the core of the prophet's role, to stand for the oppressed, to defend the defenseless, and to remind rulers that they are not above the law, especially not divine law. So what can we learn from Elijah today? His life teaches us that faith isn't just a private, personal feeling, it has public and social implications. It calls us to be concerned with the world around us with issues of justice, poverty, and corruption. Elijah shows us that one person's courage can make a difference. We may not be prophets declaring droughts, but we can speak up against injustice in our own communities. We can call for integrity from our leaders. We can support those who are marginalized and stand for what is right, even when it's unpopular or difficult. Elijah's legacy is a powerful reminder that we are called to be a voice for justice and compassion in our own generation. The call to mend a broken world echoes through the centuries, from an ancient prophet to each and every one of us today. Thanks so much for watching. If this message resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.